What are you watching for from this meeting today between Yellen and Freeland?
Well, in some ways, what's going to happen in the next 6 months or a year is very much out of the hands of the political side, and is very much in the hands of the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada, insofar as inflation per se is not going to cause a recession. But the Federal Reserve or the Bank of Canada or both could easily cause a recession by increasing interest rates too quickly and too much, thereby pulling too much money out of the economy in an attempt to control inflation. But the end result may well be a recession. The interesting thing for us in Canada here is that there may not be a recession in the U.S., but that may well cause a recession here in Canada due to our, due to Canadian exports to the U.S.
So it's a really delicate balance, in other words. That's what you seem to be telling us. So what's your position? I mean, I feel like so many economists are in agreement that we need to increase interest rates in order to cool things down, but you can't go too far for the reasons that you just outlined. What are the alternatives, or how do you work within that framework, I guess, is my question.
It's pretty clear that neither the Bank of Canada nor the Federal Reserve want a recession. And so there's no interest in that per se. And so I think their goal will be to get to interest rates in the 2 to 3% range, but do it pretty quickly. The trouble, though, is that increasing interest rates quickly, we may not see the full effects for 6 months until they start getting baked into mortgage renewals, for instance, or bank loan renewals for businesses. Now, the issue with what's happening in the U.S. is one of the major sectors in the U.S. that's going to be affected first is one of the major sectors that's already been affected in Canada, which is the housing market. So this is a sector that is very interest rate sensitive. So as you see interest rates go up, it's harder for people to get mortgages, and so house prices come down. The impact, if this were to happen in the U.S. on Canada, is particular to things like lumber exports. So we export, 75% of Canadian exports go to the U.S. The fifth largest export in terms of the categories that goes to the U.S. is lumber. If Americans are building less homes, if they're renovating less as a reaction to higher interest rates in the U.S., that could have a major impact. So one of the concerns here with higher interest rates in the U.S. is even if in Canada, the Bank of Canada itself doesn't cause a recession, we may well just be sideswiped by what's happening in the U.S. due to lower exports that come from Canada to the U.S. And so it's a real bind for us in Canada as we're seeing these interest rates rise, not only here, but also in the U.S. We're seeing them around the world, but the U.S. is by far our biggest trading partner.
Right. Our economies are so closely linked. So people are blaming political leaders. They're blaming politicians for this. Is it really up to them? I mean, some of these factors just seem to be beyond our control, such as the war in Ukraine.
Inflation is not a Canadian phenomenon. This is worth pointing out. It's
Right.
happening here. It's happening in the U.S. It's happening in in Europe, in the U.K., in Asia. So this is not new in the developed world, and it's in large part because our economies are facing similar issues. The big issue, as you point out, is the higher price of energy due to the war in Ukraine, but also some other key inputs like the higher price of fertilizer and wheat for food, and this is also a result of what's happening in Ukraine. At the same time, we're seeing continued issues with supply chains due to lockdowns in China over COVID infections there. And so we're seeing inflation that's happening as a result of these input prices that have nothing to do with what's happening in Canada or what's happening in the U.S. And so we can increase interest rates, but they're not going to affect the price of gas. They're not going to affect the price of food. They will affect the price of houses. And if they're increased enough, they'll affect the price of other things that Canadians buy because we'll cause a recession and people will be out of work. And so they won't be interested in going on vacation and going out to eat and renting a hotel and that sort of thing. And so we can, there is obviously a lot of blame going around to politicians. But a lot of this is being caused by things that are outside of our control. And the other thing that's worth pointing out is at the same time as we're seeing input costs being a key driver here, we're also seeing corporate profits go through the roof. And so over the course of this recovery in Canada, we've seen corporate profits capture 3 times more than they've ever captured after the recovery from a recession, in the last 50 years. And this is also a bit of a driving factor, is that companies with the power to increase prices are increasing those prices to cover their higher costs and then a little bit more to pad their profit margins.
Yeah, I believe that's what we call greedflation, David.
Greedflation, that's good. Yeah, exactly. As opposed to workers' wages. I mean, workers are far behind on this. The increase in workers' wages is well behind inflation, and there are very few workers that are seeing a 7% wage increase this year. But that's what you would need just to tread water, in essence, against the higher price of goods and services.
Okay, I'm just about out of time, but I want to ask you one final question then to close out the loop. Do you think that Freeland and Yellen will come out today with some sort of plan? Do you expect an announcement, a joint announcement from the two of them?
Well, I'm sure there will be some sort of joint announcement. Minister Freeland had a big presentation, a big speech actually last week outlining her plan, quote unquote. But it wasn't really anything new. It was really an analysis of the last two budgets, pulling out any items that had direct transfers, particularly to lower income households. It doesn't seem that, I mean, that was the big opportunity, it seems to me, to have some new measures to try to combat inflation, say, for instance, with a new transfer to lower income households to help them try to afford some of these higher prices. That's not what happened. It was more a review of previous programs. So it's unlikely, I think, at this point that there will be any new announcements of actual new programs, although it may well be a review of programs that are already in the budget that was announced a few months ago, as well as the 2021 budget.
We'll be watching, as I'm sure you will be too. David McDonald, senior economist at the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. Thanks so much.